We'll be coming back, though, in a way to some of the elements about making trust into something that you may be able to use more strategically. So, with Alejandro and from the project of Gravitate Health, we'll be looking into perhaps a slightly technical solution, but not to take the words out of your mouth, Alejandro. Please tell us more about your work.
Thank you, Lars. Yes, extremely interesting conversation that we are having. I'm Alejandro Medrano from the Technical University of Madrid. I work in this research project, Gravitate Health, and just to provide some concrete use case for us to talk about trust. Of course, we have been discussing in general terms, very philosophical aspects of trust, which I'm deeply interested in because as we were discussing in the chat, I would love to there be some sort of model, equation, definition that I could work on what trust is so I can provide solutions around it. So Gravitate Health, just to contextualize and go to the point because I have a lot of slides and I'm going to try to be to the point as possible. Gravitate Health addresses the issue of your patient information leaflet. This is the information that comes with your medicines, and the other information. This is our patient Maria. There is a lot of problems with this in the 21st century. It's almost unbelievable that we don't have digital prospects for our medicines. And that has to do a lot with what we are discussing today with the topics of trust and how digitalization is not always trust or equates to there being more trust on that information, right? The way that you deliver that information has some properties that has to do with trust. We try to provide some sort of solution with this digital platform with trusted and regulated digital health information. Again, we are assuming there's some way for us to trust this information. Without trust, we are not able to provide truly the solution that we want to provide. What is the solution that we want to provide? Is to gather health information like the patient's health record, the medicine leaflet, as we just mentioned, and other educational material in the digital domain. This is the digitalization process, put them all together so that we can help patients access, understand, and comply with the treatments much easier in a safer way. Also, there's this aspect of is this information safe for this patient? Because sometimes the information is trustworthy, but part of this trustworthiness is it safe? But also, is it safe for that patient? Because it might not be safe for different conditions or different combination of conditions. Our feature or star feature is what we call focusing, which is basically adapting the information to the context, needs, and preferences that the user has so that they can understand effectively and optimally the information. How this works, I'm just using this slide. I'm not going to go into the details, but to show that there is some sort of transformation between the original documents and the final documents. It doesn't matter exactly how this transformation is, but the argument here is, can these transformations affect on the trust or the patient has on this information? And the answer is, of course, it has. It depends on how this transformation are done, what is the curation, what is the process, has it been audited? There's the transformation of information itself, the handling of information is something critical for trust. Let me show you very quickly how this, in this example, how this focusing actually looks for the patient. We have from our pilot, this persona, it's a random user. who has HIV and is 38 years old and it's been prescribed with Dovato. Okay, so when he looks to the Dovato medicine, traditionally he would look at this document as you see in the right. With the Gravitate Health system, it will understand that part of the condition of Pedro is HIV, and that this paragraph in the leaflet refers to HIV. So now Pedro understands what this medicine is for his condition on HIV, because it's highlighted for him. They pay attention to this part of the information because this information is relevant to your case. Again, building this personalization aspect also towards trust. Okay, this information now is tailored to me. I feel more safe in this environment. Second case, for example, age. We have a section for children. Again, in the Dovato, this information can be not deleted, but hidden, collapsed is what we call it, so that if, and this is regulatory aspects, Pedro wants to read it, he can't read it. But what the information is telling Pedro in this case is you can safely ignore this information, doesn't apply to you. The same we can argue with gender. Pedro will probably not be as interested as female patient in pregnancy and breastfeeding precautions for Dovato again. So all this information for Pedro is highlighted. For other persons, particularly female, particularly people who are trying to get pregnant or who are pregnant, would be highlighted, right? Highlighted meaning bring your attention there. This is just a broad sense of where we are at, the context of where we find that we need this trust. Yesterday I was trying to define what we need from trust. I asked ChatGPT, what is trust? And he said, this is a complex social phenomenon that involves reliability, truthfulness, and ability. That's why the comment in the chat was so meaningful for me, that we can define trust in a very simple way, highlighting all of its properties. For my case, I try to also define it on these questions. So, can I access the information? If I don't access the information, if the information is not accessible, if when I try to load it on my phone, it's not there, there's no point on keep providing it trust. Or if it's sometimes there and not sometimes there, it's not reliable in that connection, then what's the point of it? Is this information safe? And safe for me, again, this point of personalization. Can I understand it? This is useful for me. Does it have benefits associated? Does it have costs? Again, that's I understood from the trust equation that there are also some interests that can be affected in this trust, but also things like who is managing this information, who has curated, who has created, can I trust him? Has been reviewed? Can there be a second opinion? Again, topics that we have been discussed. Do I have some opinion on this information? Can I do something with it or about it or to it? So there are a lot of questions, and this is just a small exercise of the questions that a patient potentially can have on the health information that they are given. Typically, the health information is given by healthcare professional. Traditionally, it's been handwritten in a note. In fact, we saw Maria at the beginning with a handwritten note, and that could be trustworthy because that handwritten note was handwritten by her doctor. with all the knowledge that the doctor has. But who is to say that the doctor didn't forget something in that handwritten note? Same, they can print out, and again, we can ask all these questions about where is this information actually coming from, who has participated there, is there any way to ensure that this is evidence-based. Now we are on the digital age, and the digital age makes things more complex. We also started discussing about this. In fact, it adds another layer that with physical media was not there, and it's partly where I started with why in the 21st century we are still having paper leaflets. And this has to do mostly with how digital solutions work. We can say, okay, no, we trust connections. We have our browsers, and I come back to this concept later, that say whether these connections are safe, confidential. But even those can be broken. Here is some examples or category of examples on how that security can be broken. Middle attacks, spoofing, and even denying the access to that information, which again, if is relevant health information that is required at a moment's notice on an emergency and you cannot access it, then it's critical. It's a safety issue. So we propose this framework, which we can also name it a platform, which we call the Content Trust Framework, which handles and tries to provide a framework, again, a technological framework to solve some of those technical issues around trust. The first issue is about integrity, meaning that your information is signed and then secured so that no modification, accidental or intentional, is happens without the system knowing about this modification. This is critical to ensure that information can be delivered through different paths, and again, try to solve that accessibility, denial of service problem. We also have provenance, meaning that each information leaflet has information leaflet, but can be any FHIR resource. We are using FHIR as our standard for interoperability for health information, has different properties on where it comes from, who has originated, all the transformation, who can, when, and how it has been amended. All these transformations can be tracked into the system. People can verify this information, and even beyond there, provide a more legal aspect, a more legal verification on like attestation. These are like the seals of yes, this information has been reviewed and validated by regulators or other elements. Of course, we can have more than one attestation, more than one transformation, more than one amendment, verification, and so on, which also provides part of what we call the trust function, how to calculate how much trust you can place of it. The more attestations that you have, the more legal certificates on that information that you have. In hypothesis is that you can trust this more. No, we have an example here where the information is gathered for different places, but at the end, what we need is the patient, the end user, to know where the different informations come from. And in this case, well, maybe we need to compare, because this information is sort of competing information, let's say information leaflet for the same medicine, and they need to know which of those information leaflets can the patient trust more. Okay, so we look, or the patient could look at all that provenance and say, okay, this information is originated here, is attested there, is validated, whatnot. We can look this in a different way and try to just to count those attestations, verifications. We then pass this trust function and say, okay, content A is more trustworthy than content B just because there is a more precise lineage of where this information comes from. It has this attestation, this legal entity that's being approving this element, while content B does not have that. So we can sort of say what information on how we can trust the different information. And how we do that, we do this with the trust function. Again, a sort of approach on the question on how much can we trust certain information. It has to do on whether this information has been modified in any way. Can we track these different elements that have been applied to this information in order to produce these activities that have been there? Who has participated in those activities? This is agents that make those transformations. We can have different trans functions for different jurisdictions. So there's some example there that FDA and EMA might have different informations out there for the different patients, but of course in their different jurisdictions. And when the information is going from one jurisdiction to another, we need to take that into account. Again, transforming analysis, we can look into what type of information we are looking at and have that level of trust on information calculated in different ways. And of course, for health, is extremely relevant that we have some sort of time relevance, because old information is probably less reliable than new information, in the sense that things get outdated, that things need reviewing, that there's new evidence that comes out every day. So we need to take that into account. So this is the whole framework in different entity, in different with its different components. Again, we can provide this kind of certification process, digital certification process for digital content, which is quite interesting. Provenance tracking, the trust function, and the whole modularity for it, because we think that this framework is not just useful for gravitated health. We can use it for other use cases in healthcare. Again, we are using FHIR as an interoperability resource, which means that we can basically apply this framework for any FHIR component.
Super.
I'm also...
Alejandro,
yes.
I think in the interest of also allowing Gitonga to present,
one last thought, okay? I'm in my last slide. One last thought, because it's actually very interesting that what the last conversation that we have about who we trust. We can have different types of certificates, legal, formal, clinical, but at the end, all these don't have to belong to the same entity. And the fact that we are using blockchain means that we can apply this framework in a global, self-sovereign way. What this means is that we can create what I call trust networks, which are networks of groups of who we can trust. And the patient can decide, well, I trust this network, I trust this network, and can even look at other networks and see what other people are saying about that piece of information. So I find this concept really endearing, also part of the anthropological aspect of that there shouldn't be a single source of trust, because we don't react that well for a single centralized elements. So I think this is also part of the conversation that we need to have in terms of trying to provide freedom to.
Thank you.
That
Gitonga.
was my last,
Yes,
and
very
I'll
well.
give it back to you.
Thank you so much. Gitonga, also a digital solution in a slightly different setting, of course, but do present a different. I believe it's also, though, based on blockchain for sure, right?
Yeah, but not entirely on blockchain.
Can you also share your slides? Is that, or should we have Nina share the slides?
Anina should share them kindly.
Okay. In a second or two.
Okay.
Um, and if there's some of you that still haven't found the chat function, I can highly recommend that too, because that's entirely different stream. So, Gitonga.
Yeah. Thank you so much. My name is Gitonga Miriam. I'm the CEO for Link Trust, having been able to work in the philanthropy sector in Kibera. And trust is a very critical aspect of how we run our businesses, our day to day. And having a little bit of what I've heard from the speakers, trust is really is the only thing we can be able to change the world and how things are running. The only way you can trust something is when somebody you know knows about it. And to scale it down to what I'm presenting today, I'm presenting our solution, which is linked claims, and it is a digital HR tech solution for talent and management and verification, which whereby linked claims you are able to, with what is happening right now with AI, there's a lot of resumes which are generated by AI that are flogging the market, and even people looking for jobs are having a hard time because the CVs themselves have also been written. Things that are written inside the CVs are not, some of them are not like true, and also the way they are generated by CV. So it kills our authentication and our truthfulness when doing things and when applying for jobs. That has bring unfair competition in the HR system, and whereby HR are not able to know which they're not able to know which candidate is standing out when applying for a job, because all the CVs look the same, all of them have the same information, some are cooked. So it gives the HRs also a problem, and it is a problem for job seekers and those looking for jobs.
Next slide.
Uh,
Should Nina advance this? Yes, for sure. Trust deficit.
Yeah, there's even in hiring now, because if the CV are generated by the AI, the information in the CV are not even like credified and certified. That means people who are employed, some of them are not competent, and it is bringing unfair competition to those people who really have skills and have been able to work for years and are not able to get jobs. And that is really what we are trying to come through with our solution linked claims.
Next slide. Yeah.
Also on the impact market, opportunities, having been able to work also in philanthropy. There's a lot of mistrust that is going on there in terms of the supplies, the medical supplies flowing from one organization to the beneficiaries, and even the beneficiaries saying, like, there's a lot of mistrust. Same applies to hiring, same applies to HR, same applies to digital world. Right now, it's not easy to detect what is right, what is true, what is not true, because also the AI cannot be able to tell what is true and what is not true. And also that is going to affect the market, because trust is our business. Trust is our schools, our education, and everything. So when trust is lost, everything is lost. We are losing a generation. Thank you. Yes, so this is the link claims now. So when it comes to link claims, the way we create our CVs from the like the portals where you can go create your CV, but from link claims is it's very very different. You come here, you create, we call them credentials. You come here, you create. Let me give a good example. You say probably I've worked as a plumber. I've worked in a certain organization. Maybe the organization is called Plumbing Investment. I've worked there for 5 years. How will you know that I worked there? So I come here, I put my credential that truly I have 5 experience of working as a plumber. I've worked as a plumber. Now Now, this credential, I'll have to send it to my supervisor, to my CEO, somebody who was in the company and can be able to write a recommendation and vouch for me. And it's going to be human certified. Even if I come and put it anywhere in the web, it is verified by a human. And also it is portable and you can be able to store it anywhere you want. You can store it in the Google Drive, you can store it in your wallet right now, because we are evolving and introducing wallet in every part of the world now. So you can also store it in a wallet in such a way that even if you wake up one day and assuming like what is happening, like right now, assuming what happened with Twitter. If you wake up one day and there's no Twitter, you're still going to get everything. If you wake up one day and there's no LinkedIn and you have this, because you have all the power over it and having it on your access, you can just retrieve it from any point. So this one makes you stand out because you have the credential is certified by a human and it can go back to where it came from, assuming whereby you've been recommended by 3 of your supervisors, 3 of people you worked in that company, maybe your colleagues, and then when now you're getting another job, they can be able to see that truly you are vouched for, and you have the certificate, you have the certified credential they're requiring for. Assuming the exams, the test you took while you're working, or the sum of the project you worked on, the workshop, you can have them as still in the credential, and using cryptographically signed photos whereby they cannot be changed. So thereby it improves the trust when you are applying for a job and you're seeking for a job. And also having been able to be vouched for by so many people, you can be able to come and create the web of trust. When the web of trust that relates from one person to another. So you as the primary person, and then the people who have vouched for you, and it is displayed in a web of trust. And that showing the relationship, how the relationship flow makes it certified to be human verified, and that improves the level of trust, because not everyone who wants to vouch for you not everyone can lie when vouching for you. There are some they can, but not everyone will. So making it making the chances of the trust in that area being high as compared to what? Okay, as compared to this, this is also our project we're going through called Resume Author. Now, this is whereby after you've already created the credential and you've been vouched for, you can come put it here and then you link it to your credential, and then you can send it to someone who maybe needs it in the CV format, which is human verified, and you can show the people who have vouched for you, the people who have recommended you, and it will be human verified, not just AI, not just generate just word put in there and then the AI generates for you and puts everything for you. No. So this is our journey of the company I work for. So linktrust.us, to start with, we started as in the philanthropy sector, and then we scaled down to HR tech. That's why I'm so like improvised with philanthropy and how we are moving the trust model, open source collaborations and everything. So that is how we are scaling down to what we are doing now. And this is how we do our investment. We have a rolling safe in the Fair Mint, whereby you can just invest directly, and you are able to be part of the company. Thank you. I'm open to any question.
Thank you, Gitonga. A fascinating technical solution from both Alejandro and Gitonga on the element of trust.